Long time no see. This I guess is part 13, long-awaited part 13 of my Columbine series here. Part 12, you heard me talk at length about my PTSD and ongoing mental issues. I guess that make part 13 all the more fitting because, just because of recent events and current events here, I'm gonna go ahead and discuss, my physical health now. Everything that's gone on with my health since the shooting, I can't really attribute to the shooting. Part of it is just genetics, bad luck, pretty much. But a lot of it probably can be attributed to just stress I've been having to deal with just going through daily life since the shooting. I'm gonna talk. Originally thinking about talking about my dad today, but just because of recent events, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and discuss my physical health since that's the main reason why part 13 has been so long in coming. Oh, where do I start here? Before the shooting, I very, very rarely got sick. I mean, I think as far as school attendance goes, I think that my best year was probably fourth grade when, I only missed like half a day of school the entire year, and that one day I actually had to get sent home because I came down with the flu in the middle of class. Anyway, ever since the shooting, my attendance has been decent at school, pretty good at work, but things have not quite been the same as they were before 1999, of course. I guess a part of the beginning of the health stuff probably started when I very first, went off to, when I transferred to CU in 2003. So it would have been right after my tremor started. Anyone who's ever lived in a college dorm can probably tell you that living in the dorms is like living in a cesspool, and, um, my dorms were no exception. I mean, I could probably tell it. Like, I was probably in the doctor's office at least once a month, getting my throat swabbed, getting checked for mono or stuff, because I consistently had a sore throat. I constantly had, like, sinus infections and colds and viruses and stuff, and just no matter how clean I kept myself, I was just, I felt like I was just sick all the time. There's nothing I could really avoid as long as I was living in the dorms. So I tried to do my best to stay healthy, but dorms, can't really, there's only so much you can really do. And, what's one part of it? The next part that happened in college is mostly just not really attributed to the shooting directly, just colossal bad luck on my part. Let's see, Easter 2004. You're probably gonna start calling me a klutz, but I'm a well-known klutz. That's okay. Easter 2004. My mom had come to pick me up from the dorms because I went home every weekend, even though it was 35 miles from the school. But mom would come pick me up because I didn't know how to drive yet. And so I was like getting into her car, ducked down to get in the car, and my head smacked the edge of the car where the window meets the roof of the car. I smacked my head like really good. Knocked my glasses up kind of askew on my face, and I just kind of went, ah, and I kind of sat down in the car, rubbed my head, because mostly it was my pride more than anything that hurt. But that evening at home, I noticed that my head still hurt. I was getting confused. I kept thinking I was 19, although I was 20 at the time. I was like, oh, that must have really hit my head good. So when I went back to school the next day, I tried to go to class, but my head hurt too darn much. I couldn't focus. So I went to the doctor on campus, and the doctor said, you got a concussion. You got a first degree concussion. It's like, oh, goody, goody, goody. So he told me to just try to take it easy, take ibuprofen for the pain, that kind of stuff. And I would try to go to I tried to rest up as much as I could, although part of me was just like still like, no, I gotta go to class. I gotta get my papers and homework and all that stuff. So I'd try to go to class, and my my Japanese teacher at the time, Shimizu Sensei, I told her what happened, and she literally booted me out of class. She was like, "I don't want to see you back in here until you're fully recovered," because I guess she'd had a concussion the year before, and she knew exactly what it felt like. So she booted me out of class and said I could come get the homework and stuff when I was able to. But she literally kicked me out of class until I was better. And that weekend, I'd try to go to work at Walgreens. During school, I transferred up to the Walgreens in Boulder. I would try to go to work, but I kept having to leave in the middle of my shift because I just couldn't focus. I'd get dizzy and stuff. And during this particular school year, I had my Japanese roommate Nanako, and I didn't quite know the right Japanese to explain what happened to her, so I ended up having to look up the word for concussion, and to this day, of course, naturally because of the strange events that happened, I still remember the word for concussion in Japanese, which is no shinto. I told her what happened in Japanese, and she repeated, she looked at me incredibly like, no shinto? I'm like, yeah, no shinto, so Nanaka would try to take care of me when she could, but eventually I did recover from that concussion, and no really lasting after effects from that, thank God. But anyway, like I said, just my next year and a half of school after that, just I kept getting sick, and another sore throat, had my blood drawn. I couldn't tell you how many times, just because the doctor kept thinking I had mono, but I never had mono, so I guess that's something. Another thing that happened health-wise, 2000, well, no, let me try to go in chronological order here. January 2006 was the month after I'd graduated from CU. I transferred back down to the Walgreens in Littleton, and I was helping out in the stock room. Me and a manager and a coworker were boxing up stuff, labeling the boxes, preparing for a yearly inventory. And the manager was supposed to be on the one on the ladder. It was my coworker instead. We're in the middle of boxing up shirts and stuff. And my coworker, an older guy, he was up on the ladder trying to put this 25 pound box of shirts up on one of the highest shelves in the stockroom, and me, I'm bent over on the roller line in the stockroom, just starting to tape this box up, and I hear both my manager and my coworker yelling, and I think they're yelling "look out" or something. I remember them yelling, and then I didn't even have time to look up. The next thing I know, I feel this giant thing just laying straight on the top of my head. I didn't even fall down, crazy enough. I actually kind of staggered a bit, said, "Ow!" held my head, and then instantly my back and my neck started hurting. My arm went numb. So I'm just like, "Oh, great, here we go again." Because well, there was something I left out. Actually, come to think of it, and this is another thing. This is another thing you're probably gonna think of me as being a klutz, but in late 2002, I had an incident at work where one of the managers wanted me to move a bunch of windshield wiper fluid over from the so-called speed bump in the store over next to the front register. I'm like, okay, so I kind of took it a little too literally, tried to be superwoman, so I tried to lift out this big old box with like 6 gallons of windshield wiper fluid in it, and I felt my back kind of give, and I kind of rested the box on the cart. So I'm just like, whoa, so heavy. That kind of hurt. And then at the end of that shift, my back was still hurting, so I told the manager, I think I sprained my back, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And so, very long story short, I ended up going on workers' comp for that back injury, and I was in physical therapy for 6 months, and to this day, my back has still never been the same. So it was just after 3 years after that where this whole thing happened, where I had the box of shirts fall on my head, and my arm went numb and everything. So I unfortunately knew the sensation and was like, oh God, here we go again. So went into the office, filed out the accident report. I got to go on to workers' comp again, got diagnosed with another concussion, a sprained neck, aggravated my old back injury. So, of course, once again, I had to go into physical therapy, had my head in traction once a week just to be able to stretch out my neck, to stretch out that injury. Because, how can I really put it? It felt like that my whole spine got pancaked when that box landed on my head, so, they kind of had to help me stretch it out. But, thankfully I wasn't in physical therapy for quite as long for that as I was for my first back injury. But, This concussion was different because unlike the first one, where it was mostly physical pain and everything, this one didn't really hurt so much physically, but I was kind of messed up mentally for a little while. I would start crying easily and stuff. And the one thing that has stuck with me through the years is that my older coworker, the one who lost his grip on the box, he never apologized to me. Now, like I said, he was an older gentleman. Throughout my time working with him, I got the impression that he didn't really like me that much, probably because I was younger and he thought that younger people were spoiled brats, pretty much. So he pretty much treated me like I was a spoiled brat. And like I said, the one thing that stuck out with me through this whole box dropping thing is that he didn't apologize. So, of course, I do assume that he genuinely did drop it on accident, but I've had several people tell me over the years that with the way the box landed on my head, that I really should have broken my neck. So, I guess I got pretty lucky there. So I don't have any lasting effects from that. I healed up from that eventually, and just a few months later, May 2006. It's actually the day Laura went into labor with my nephew. She was at the hospital, and me and everyone in my family were at home pretty much, and I'm just laying there lounging on Mom's bed because Dad had passed away by this point. So had Grandpa. Grandpa just passed 2 months before. I was laying there on Mom's bed, just feeling lazy pretty much, and then suddenly I get this painful, crushing feeling in my chest, and I thought it was very, very strange. It was like 10:30 at night, and I literally just practically bolt up because all of a sudden I get this pain in my chest. And so if I sat still, it was okay, but if I tried to move around at all, it would just be this absolute massive pain I never felt before. And so I had a bad night. I tried to go to bed, had a very bad night. Next morning, I was still having this terrible pain. Laura was in active labor, and so I told Mom what was going on, and tried to take outside for a little bit, but like I said, only way the pain would go away is if I sat absolutely still. Otherwise, if I tried to move at all, the pain would come right back. But anyway, we kind of put my stuff aside for now while we went to the hospital, helped out, provided Laura with moral support. I I tried playing with my niece outside on the hospital playground while Laura was in labor, and I would try to play with my niece as best I could, but so I would just walk alongside her while she was jumping around, doing her stuff. But and when my nephew was born, I'd brought along my camera that I got for graduation, took a bunch of pictures of him, mostly because I wanted to give Laura and Joe something to just have nice memories of my nephew's first hours. And me and Mom and my little brother, we went home. I was still having this massive pain, so Mom finally decided to take me to the ER. So I went to the ER, sat in the waiting room for actually not very long because apparently they expedite patients who have chest pain. So after watching a few minutes of an episode of House, I got whisked back to one of the examination rooms where they gave me an EKG to rule out any issues with my heart. They quickly ruled out anything with my heart. They went ahead and did a chest CT with contrast, and they warned me that when they injected me with the contrast, that it would make me feel like that I would have to pee. And sure enough, I really felt like I had to pee while I was in there in the machine getting my chest CT done. And long story short of oh yeah, wait. I can't remember before after the chest CT, but this one male nurse, he was trying to stick an IV in me, couldn't find a vein. So then he tried my other arm, couldn't find a vein. He tried both my arms, wiggling the needle in around my arm. I'm just sitting there just trying to hold it together because my chest was hurting and now my arms were hurting. I was just miserable. But anyway, he did finally get an IV in me. I got my chest CT done, all that fun stuff. And after 7 hours of being in the ER, the doctor came into the room and said that I had pleurisy, which is apparently an inflammation of the lining of the lungs, and it is viral, so they couldn't give me anything to get rid of the virus, but all they can do is treat the symptoms. So they gave me 2 prescriptions. They gave me Vicodin, I don't remember it straight, but it was Vicodin for the pain and Indocin for the inflammation. And what followed was something that my little brother teases me about to this day because the Vicodin, I don't remember what strength it was, but it was enough to knock me out pretty darn good. So the next 3 weeks after, I don't really remember that much because the Vicodin would either knock me out cold or it would make me very, very happy. So one of the times where it just made me happy, I put in this Bon Jovi CD into my stereo and just laying on my bed listening to Bon Jovi, and my little brother came walking down to the basement where I'm laying there on my bed, and he gives me this look, and so to this day he refers to Bon Jovi as my stoner music, and we kind of both have a good laugh about it just because I fully admit I was probably a little bit high when I listened to Bon Jovi that day, but anyway, like I said, I was for the Vikings for about 3 weeks, so I don't remember much of the 3 weeks after my little Pleursy episode that took me to the ER, but I did eventually heal up from the Pleursy, but for 6 months afterwards, whenever I got a cold or anything, some of that chest pain would come back, but that eventually went away on its own too, and I am happy to say that because it is a virus, I'll probably never get that again, so to this day, Pleursy ranks as my number one most painful thing I've had in my life, although later on, since then, I have had a couple of things that have come pretty darn close, and I'll get to those in a second. Excuse me, not meaning to pick my nose here, but it's just, let me see, Pleursy, 2008. Again, this is not something that's really been directly affected by the shooting or anything. This is just another part of me being a klutz. Late 2008, it had just snowed the night before, so there was a bunch of ice on the... I moved down to Colorado Springs at this point. I was living with, my then boyfriend, now husband, Justin. We were staying in a friend's house while he was off in Iraq. So we're house sitting for him pretty much, and it had snowed the night before, so the steps were all icy. And we had to go get my car plates renewed because I knew how to drive by that point. So me and Justin were leaving. We're stepping onto the porch, and I slip on these icy steps. I go bouncing down the steps on my butt, and then I get up, dust myself off, dust the snow off myself, start limping to the car because I landed on my tailbone, and managed to get my car plates renewed. And well, I was a little bit sore, but nothing too bad, or so I thought. About a week later, I was still a little bit sore, but I was pretty sure I was on the mend. And me and Justin were sitting there on the couch watching TV, and he starts to roughhouse with me a little bit. So he grabbed my right leg, wrenched it onto the couch while I'm still in my sitting position, and by doing that, he must have done something to my hip because, like I said, I was still healing from my little spill down the icy steps, so probably wasn't quite healed yet because when he wrenched my leg onto the couch, something happened, and I felt like 10 different kinds of pain shoot through me all at once. I start screaming at him. I start screaming, let go, let go, let go, because my leg was just, oh my God, I was probably halfway to passing out. That pain was incredible. And so, next day, I go to my family doctor, and she does a physical exam of me, and she touches my tailbone, which resulted in me jumping about 3 feet in the air because I wasn't even aware my tailbone was still sore at that point. And just by touching it, it hurt nonstop for 3 days after that. Just doing a poke, literally just touching it. And she wanted to make sure I hadn't dislocated anything, so she sent me off to Penrad Imaging, which took an X-ray of my hip and everything. And luckily, nothing was dislocated, but I had definitely sprained my hip and apparently bruised my tailbone pretty darn good. So my family doctor did prescribe me Vicodin. She prescribed me the lowest strength available, which wasn't enough to get me high, but it was enough to at least take the edge off my pain. So it actually I didn't really take it for the pain as much as I did just to be able to help me sleep at night, just because the pain would keep me up at night, so I mostly took it to help me sleep. And eventually I did heal up from my hip sprain and my tailbone bruising and all that, but for a couple years after that, whenever it would get really cold outside, my hip would start hurting and I'd start limping a little bit at work. And actually, that brings up one amusing point there. While I was recovering from my hip sprain, whenever I was at work, it was very, very painful to get around. So I would borrow one of the canes from off the shelf in the old people section at work. I'd use the cane to get around, and I was still manning the register and doing photo also by that point. So because of my bruised tailbone, I wasn't sure if it'd be helpful to borrow a stool to sit down at the register while I was ringing up customers, or if it'd be easier to stand up because tailbone and everything. So finally, I just decided that just being off my feet would help out with my hip, because my hip was the thing that bugged me more than my tailbone. So I used a stool up front for a couple weeks, borrowed the cane off the shelf for a couple weeks, and like I said, for a couple years after that, whenever it got really cold outside, my hip would start hurting, and sometimes it'd get to the point where I started limping again. But that seems to have self-corrected as well, thank God. Um, what else? Yeah, I would say, especially over the past 5 years, I have been more stressed out because of PTSD stuff starting to flare up, just general life events. So, of course, when I get stressed out, I get sick. So, I did start getting sick more and more after the 10th anniversary. Like, I'd probably have a couple colds a year. I finally got strep for the first time in my life a couple years ago. I probably get a sinus infection at least once or twice a year. Or part of that's just probably from stress, and part of it's probably because I have a deviated septum. I try to straighten out my nose out here, see? Crooked, crooked, straight, crooked. I've thought about getting a septoplasty to get that straightened out, but that's expensive, and I'd rather get LASIK first. So I'll probably have to live with getting sinus infections for a little while. Okay, so let's see. When was this other one? 2011, I want to say. I started getting sick again, and actually, I was at work and I started having trouble breathing. I actually started hyperventilating at work because I couldn't breathe, and my store manager, she actually had me sit down by the pharmacy for a little bit so I could try to catch my breath. But again, I couldn't stop myself from hyperventilating, so she rushed me over to urgent care, and she actually stayed there with me while they examined me and did a chest X-ray and everything. And at the end of that, I was probably there for 3 hours while they did their tests and stuff in urgent care, and they finally said that I had bronchitis and something called reactive airway, meaning I guess my lungs tend to react to weather changes, stuff like that, and part of it could be due to the fact that I grew up in a smoking household, because both my parents smoked. Joe smoked when he still lived with us, so part of it was probably a result of all that. But anyway, they gave me an inhaler, some antibiotics, and that helps. But I usually would only do the inhaler when I was having trouble breathing, so I could usually stretch out that prescription for that inhaler for a little while. And I probably get bronchitis once or twice a year, but anyway, that all leads up to what's been delaying part 13 of my series here, is because well, part of it was grad school, because I just finished up my first semester of grad school, got an A and a B plus, yay. I had to do a lot of reading, papers, essays, so that took up most of my time, which is why this part 13 has had a delay. Other thing that's been, like I said at the beginning of the video, the other thing that's been delaying this is my physical health, because ever since I started at this call center job back in April, I started getting sick a lot more than I like. Of course, no one likes getting sick, but I've been sick a lot. I would say this current bout probably started probably about a week before my last class for the semester, actually. I just I started having trouble breathing again, but my inhaler had run out a few months ago, and I had this chest pain, and I went to urgent care. They said, "Oh, you've got bronchitis," and I'm just like, "Oh, yay, no surprise there." So they gave me some antibiotics and some cough medicine, which is weird because I hadn't really done any coughing. But anyway, I took the 5 days of antibiotics. Felt better for a few days, and then I got sick again right away. So I don't know if the antibiotics didn't work or... Well, they said I had bronchitis and a sinus infection, so I think the antibiotics were mostly for a sinus infection, but again, I don't know. I just know I got sick again after a few days after after I finished the antibiotics. So I got sick again, and I went to my regular doctor because I was having these chest pains, and my regular doctor said, "Oh, it's just the virus moving into the chest muscles. It means the virus is working its way out of your system. You'll be okay in probably about a week or so." I'm like, okay, I guess I can live with this for another week. So it's been 2 weeks since that appointment, and well, let me just say that for the past month or so, I haven't been able to get through a work week without either having to call off once or go home early at least once. So my attendance for the last month has been kind of spotty. Um, Actually, let's see. Yeah, I'm at the call center. I work Saturday through Wednesday with Thursday and Friday off. So this work week just started yesterday, but I started feeling absolutely miserable yesterday, so I went to urgent care again yesterday, just because, like, okay, I'm not used to having bronchitis for quite this long. I just want to roll out pneumonia, that kind of stuff, and so I went to urgent care again. I actually took my temperature before I went to urgent care. It was like 95.4 or something, and my normal was 97.7, but it's like, it was unnormally low, and yet I was hot. So this is very strange. So like I said, I went to urgent care. Apparently my temperature was fine at urgent care, which is good. They examined me, listened to my breathing, of course. They actually finally decided to give me a chest x-ray. And again, I asked about, hey, do I have pneumonia? And they said, oh, no, you don't have pneumonia. Your lungs sound fine. And they looked at my chest x-ray. They said my chest x-ray was normal. It was perfectly clear. I had one little spot with a bronchial thickening, they call it, which I guess I had to Google it later, but I guess that can result from reactive airway or asthma or bronchitis, basically any breathing issue that can result from. So so apparently I've had bronchitis for the past month now, and what the doctor recommended yesterday is that I get some Mucinex D from my local pharmacy. He also gave me a prescription for an albuterol inhaler. Finally, I don't know why no one else had done it before, but I finally got a prescription for an inhaler. I also got a prescription for Flonase, which is a steroidal nasal spray, just to be able to open everything up there, my sinus and everything. So I got those filled today, and I haven't taken any of the Mucinex D yet, but I did take the nasal spray and the inhaler a couple hours ago, and I felt not 100%, but I felt better after I took them, but a little bit before I started recording this video, my chest started hurting again. Actually, I've actually been talking through this chest pain throughout this entire 28 minutes here. So if I'm sounding out of breath, wheezy, that's why, just because I'm having trouble breathing again. So, also, while I've been sick, my husband kind of wrecked his car. A few days before Christmas, on the 22nd, actually, we were making a McDonald's run because McDonald's has been having dollar Big Macs on Mondays, so we went and got some Big Macs. And it had snowed, so everything was all slick. And my husband is normally an excellent driver in the snow, much better than I am. I'm deathly afraid of driving in the snow. And we were coming around this bend here, and we started sliding, and Justin couldn't get us out of the slide, and so we hit a curb really, really hard. And I had my arms up for like this before we hit the curb. So I had my arms, and then we hit the curb. My whole body just kind of goes like that, although a little bit faster than that. And then immediately my neck and my back start hurting. And so I knew immediately that I'd probably gotten some whiplash, although Justin kind of blew it off. He's like, we didn't even hit the curb that hard. You're in a whiplash, you're fine. But I can freely admit that ever since that little accident, his car is actually still in the shop right now. The suspension was all wrecked, so his car's still in the shop. He has a rental right now. Ever since we hit the curb, I've been dizzy. I've had the occasional pain in the neck. I have not slept well at all. So, and like I said, I still have the bronchitis as well. So I don't know how much of the dizziness is from me being sick and how much of it is from what could very well be a whiplash concussion. I don't know. Justin doesn't think I have a concussion because I didn't hit my head. I admit, yeah, I did not hit my head, so, but I did do some Googling, although I know they do say thou shalt not Google when you're sick, but I do it anyway. And they said that yes, you can get a concussion just from having whiplash. So I'm just thinking, okay, so how much of the dizziness is from the accident? How much is it from me being sick? So, uh, you notice I keep rubbing my neck here because now it's starting to hurt now a little bit. And I get these headaches in the back of my skull right here, and I get dizzy a lot, and I've just been absolutely physically just exhausted, and I heard that that could be a symptom of whiplash as well. So it's like, again, how much of this is from the accident, how much of this is from the bronchitis. I mean, obviously the breathing issues are from the bronchitis, but anyway, yeah, I've got a few things going on now, and oh, I've realized there's some things I skipped over. But the bronchitis is a current issue as to why Part 13 has been delayed. Another thing that's been, one other thing that's been keeping Part 13 at bay is that, I had yet another miracle back on part. I think it was right after I recorded Part 4 where I mentioned I had an ovarian cyst burst. Well, on Black Friday, guess what happened again? 4 months after my second ovarian cyst burst, I had another one burst. Where me and Justin were out shopping at IKEA, and we're looking at the plushies because the plushies were half off on Black Friday. We were joking about getting this big old plushie shark just because it'd be so out of place in our apartment. And like, hey, it's soft and plushy. So I literally like 5 minutes after we were playing with the shark, all of a sudden I felt this massive this sharp pain in my side. Now I did kind of have some warning with this one because I'd had tiny bits of pain on that side the last couple of days, but then that Black Friday after we were looking at the shark, I started having these stabbing pains on my left side. I'm thinking, oh my god, you're kidding me, right? 4 months after the second one, I'm having a third one. So, we did end up buying that plushy shark, and that's mostly just for me just having to cling onto for dear life while I was going through this pain again. And thankfully, I actually recovered from this one pretty quickly. So it might have been a tiny one, but again, tiny ones can still really hurt. But yeah, I actually recovered. I missed 2 days of work because of that stupid cyst, but I recovered from that one a lot quicker than I did from the second one. Certainly longer than the first one. I don't think I ever mentioned the first one. The first one would have been almost 2 years ago now. Would have been day before Valentine's Day of 2013. I started having cramp. I'll go in a little bit TMI here, you guys. Sorry, but day before Valentine's Day 2013, I started having cramps. I didn't really think much of it because I was in the middle of my cycle. I thought it was ovulation cramps, but then these cramps got worse and worse. I had to grab my heating pad, put it on myself. Cramps still got worse and worse and worse. I'm thinking, what the heck is going on here? I thought I had a kidney infection or something. So I kind of put up with this pain for a couple days, and I try to pay attention to everything I have. Like the pain would wrap around my back and just. And I actually did not call off work at any point during this whole thing with my first cyst, even though it was by far it was that's be the one that I'm gonna call the second worst pain in my life after the pores because I was absolutely miserable with this pain. I mean, that Saturday, this was probably 3 or 4 days after the cyst after this pain started, that I actually almost passed out at the furniture at work just because I was in so much pain. But I managed to ride out the rest of that shift, and then finally Sunday, I told my husband, it's like, you know what, I gotta go to urgent care. I don't know what this is, but I can't take this anymore. So I went to urgent care. I told them I thought it was a kidney infection. They went ahead and had me pee in a cup. They tested my urine. They said, no, urine's fine. But they did go ahead and do a pelvic exam, and they noticed that my right ovary felt thick, and they felt my left one. And then when they felt my left one, I practically jumped off the table. I started hollering in pain because just her just gently touching it, just oh my god. And then that's when she said, yeah, she's like, yeah, I think you had an ovarian cyst burst, honey. I'm thinking, oh, that's just super because female issues, shall we say, run in my family, and they always manifest by age 30. And I was a few months away from turning 30 at that point, and I'm thinking, I guess I didn't escape it after all. So they told me to take ibuprofen, use a heating pad. And I'm thinking, ibuprofen, really? Do you think I already tried that? You should give me some Vicodin or something, but they didn't want to give me a Vicodin, so I just had to deal with this pain, and actually it was hurt. The first 5 days were the worst for that pain, but I was still hurting for a full 3 weeks. So and my husband, he likes to say that I have girlitis a lot. Like he thinks I'm faking to be sick just to get out of going to work or anything like that. But and he thought the same thing with this too, even though he'd poke me in the side, I'd literally just keel over in pain just like that. But the one thing that made him believe me about this ovarian cyst, even though he took me to urgent care and they said, yeah, you blew a cyst, the one thing that made him believe me was that, well, I kind of had a bit of a tummy before, and after my cyst burst, my stomach went flat. And not only did it go flat, I lost 10 pounds. So I don't know I'll never know how big that cyst was. I mean, I went for an ultrasound 2 weeks later, and they didn't show anything left of the cyst or any fluid or anything. And like I said, I don't know how big that cyst was. It was apparently enough to make me look 3 months pregnant for the last couple of years. So it must have been a biggie. And like I said, my stomach went flat, so that was a bonus. But of course, a blown cyst is probably not the diet plan I'd recommend for anybody. And now you'd think that with a blown cyst, my body would reabsorb all the fluid and stuff, but that didn't quite work out that way. Again, major TMI for you gentlemen in the audience here. Sorry, my period that month, 2 weeks later, ended up looking like melted chocolate milk. So because all the blood that was in the cyst. I do think that they refer to it as a chocolate cyst just because all that old blood is brown, and so when chocolate cysts burst, yeah, they're gonna be brown. So I think what I had was probably a giant chocolate cyst, and I'll admit that with my second and third cysts, I didn't have any unusual drainage or anything, so everything probably just got reabsorbed from those two. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it with my health issues, guys. Colds, sinus infections, bronchitis. That's probably all from stress and just working where I work. But in addition to that, yeah, my wrecked back, my ovarian cyst, those are just accidents of me being a klutz and just being born into my particular family. So yay me, go me. So I guess I don't really have anything to add right now. Oh, we're also at the 40-minute mark. I didn't mean to talk quite that long, but again, health issues are part of what has been going on with me since the shooting. This is something I'm just gonna have to continue to battle with, I guess. As far as preventing the ovarian cysts goes, they say, oh, just go on birth control. That should help you. That usually helps keep ovarian cysts at bay. But the thing with that is, I've been on the birth control pill. I've been on it for almost 11 years now. That obviously did not prevent that from happening. And actually, after my third one burst, I made a joke post on Facebook advertising a giveaway for a free left ovary, because with all three of these cysts have all been on the left one. So it's like, okay, maybe if I just get that one removed, it'll cure the problem. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that right now, guys. Again, I do apologize for the delay in getting this video up, but as you can see, I've had stuff to deal with. Part 14, I'll try to make either about my dad or something else. I don't know. I'll think about it. Again, guys, I do want to thank you very, very, very much for putting up with me and the delay in the video. I will try to see you again next week or whenever I can manage to get this video up before the new semester starts. So, again, guys, thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye bye.